and the influence of the music. You know, a baseball player plays one game a day, but a song comes on when it's a hit.
Everyone remembers the baggy pants and the dancing, but MC Hammer's darkest secret was hidden behind the glitter. He allegedly put a $50,000 bounty on rival rappers. Even Suge Knight, the man who terrified the entire music industry, showed him respect. Gang members offered him protection instead of threatening him. Ice Cube apologized on the spot when they met face to face. The truth about Hammer's Oakland connections ran deeper than anyone imagined. And now, something has happened that's bringing it all back to light. Stanley Kirk Burrell was born on March 30th, 1962, in East Oakland. His life began in one of the most dangerous and poorest neighborhoods in the city. His family lived in a tiny 3-bedroom apartment in the housing projects. The place was so rough that police called it a high-crime zone. Every day, there were drug busts and violence within just 2 blocks of his home. His mother worked 16-hour shifts, cleaning offices at night and taking whatever job she could find. They had almost nothing, even though there were 8 kids in the family. They survived on just $800 a month in the 1960s, which is about $3,200 today. Winters were brutal. The apartment had no heat. The whole family would huddle around one space heater to stay warm. When Stanley was only 9, he saw someone get shot right in front of him on his way home from school. His father, Louis Burrell, made life even harder. Louis wasn't just a gambler, he was addicted. He ran underground poker games where bets could hit $10,000 in one night. One time in 1971, he lost $3,500 at a single game. That's almost $25,000 today. That loss meant the family faced eviction again. In 1973, the police raided the club where Louis worked. He was arrested and spent 6 months in jail. While he was locked up, the family lived on food stamps and welfare. Sometimes he would vanish for days. Stanley never knew if his father was alive or dead. That fear of losing everything haunted him for years. Everything changed one day in 1973. Stanley was 11. He was dancing in the parking lot of the Oakland Coliseum, showing off James Brown moves and trying to sell baseballs. The owner of the Oakland A's, Charlie Finley, saw him. Finley had just fired his 3rd bat boy that season and was looking for a new one. He was so impressed with Stanley's dancing that he gave him the job on the spot. Stanley earned $5 a game plus tips. Players like Reggie Jackson and Catfish Hunter gave him extra cash for running errands. Finley even called Stanley during away games to ask for detailed reports, as if Stanley were his personal scout. But Stanley had bigger dreams. In 1980, he tried out for the San Francisco Giants. He had a .340 batting average, made 12 double plays without a single error, and ran the 60-yard dash in 6.8 seconds. But after 3 grueling days, he was cut. The Giants said he didn't have the physical presence they wanted. That rejection crushed him. He had already turned down a baseball scholarship at San Jose State because he thought he'd make it to the majors. For 2 years, he couldn't even pick up a baseball. So, Stanley joined the Navy. From 1980 to 1983, he served at Treasure Island, just 20 miles from home. The Navy taught him how to run sound equipment and record music. He formed a rap group called the Holy Ghost Boys. They performed at talent shows and clubs and recorded demos using Navy gear. Stanley was up at 4:30 every morning writing lyrics before formation. He saved nearly 80% of his pay and made extra money selling mixtapes and running a car detailing service for officers. By the time he left the Navy, he had saved $40,000. That's about $110,000 today. Back in Oakland, he bet it all on his dream. He convinced former Oakland A's players Mike Davis and Dwayne Murphy to invest another $35,000 combined. He set up a full studio in his garage with top-notch equipment. He wrote, recorded, mixed, designed the album art, and even delivered records to stores himself. He wasn't just making music, he was building an empire from the ground up. In 1987, he pressed 1,000 copies of his first album, Feel My Power, and sold them from his car. He didn't stop there. He performed anywhere he could, schools, clubs, even on street corners. He sold 60,000 copies independently. Capitol Records took notice. They offered him a $1.75 million deal in 1988. That was massive for a new rapper. And what was even more shocking, he kept control of his master recordings. His 1988 album, Let's Get It Started, blew up. It went multi-platinum, selling over 2 million copies. His videos were all over MTV at a time when rap barely got airplay. His shows were full-on spectacles, with huge dance numbers, wild costumes, and non-stop energy. But Hammer's rise wasn't just about the music. He brought over 100 people from his old neighborhood into his crew. Dancers, security, friends, family. He paid salaries that sometimes totaled $50,000 a month. His crew wasn't just big, it was powerful. They kept him safe, loyal, and respected. But that loyalty came at a huge cost. It drained his fortune when record sales dropped. Hammer built a business machine too. He started record labels, signed new artists, managed sports stars like Deion Sanders, and produced TV shows. He controlled everything: his music, tours, merch, and more. He was more than a rapper. He was a one-man industry. And it all started with a boy from East Oakland who refused to give up. MC Hammer's Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em hit the world like a lightning bolt on February 12, 1990. No one expected a hip-hop album to change the game like this. In the United States alone, the album sold over 10 million copies. That made Hammer the first hip-hop artist to go diamond. But the story didn't stop there. By August 1990, it was selling 100,000 copies every single day. By the end of January 1991, 8 million units had been sold in just 1 year. The last time anyone had seen numbers like that was when Prince's Purple Rain dominated back in 1984. The album stayed at #1 on the Billboard 200 for 21 weeks. That was the longest run by a black male artist since Michael Jackson's Thriller. On the top R&B hip-hop albums chart, it ruled for 29 weeks. By June 1991, it had sold 14.5 million copies worldwide. The diamond certification came fast. On April 15, 1991, just 14 months after the album dropped. That year alone, the album earned over $30 million. MC Hammer became hip-hop's first mogul. The music video for You Can't Touch This was just as groundbreaking. It cost over $1 million to make, which was unheard of for a rap video at the time. Most hip-hop videos had tiny budgets, but Hammer's video raised the bar. It was filled with sharp choreography, flashy outfits, and vibrant sets. Hammer's parachute pants became legendary. The risk paid off. MTV played the video on repeat, bringing Hammer's music to fans who had never listened to rap before. That video helped tear down the wall that had kept hip-hop out of the mainstream. It showed the world that rap could match pop and rock when it came to style and production. It opened the door for future rap videos to demand more creativity and bigger budgets. Hammer's parachute pants weren't just a fashion statement. They became a global trend that made millions. The baggy, flowing design wasn't just for show. Hammer said the looser the pants, the better the moves looked. He turned the style into a money-making machine. Clothing companies everywhere licensed his image. Even his rivals jumped on the bandwagon. Vanilla Ice claimed he got $1 million just to wear Hammer pants at one concert. The trend didn't die with the 90s. By 2009, the pants, now called harem pants, were back on fashion runways. Designers like Ralph Lauren, Michael Kors, and Diesel embraced the look. Into the 2010s, Dior and Burberry joined in. One fashion choice by one man shaped global style for decades. Hammer's success wasn't just about sales. His awards showed how far he took hip-hop into the mainstream. In 1991, he won a Grammy for Best Music Video, long form. That win broke new ground for rap at the Grammys. That same year, at the American Music Awards, he won Favorite Single in the Soul R&B category for You Can't Touch This, Favorite Soul R&B Album, and Favorite Rap Album. Over 20,000 record buyers voted for him. He showed up on shows and stages where rap had never been welcome. From Saturday Night Live to big network specials, Hammer became part of American pop culture. The impact lasted. In 2011, the Oakland A's gave out MC Hammer bobbleheads at a game. It was the first time a rapper got that honor from Major League Baseball. MC Hammer's rise in the early 1990s was incredible. His flashy style, massive dance crews, and catchy pop-friendly beats brought hip-hop into places it had never gone before. But this success didn't just win him fans. It started a war inside hip-hop that few saw coming. Many hardcore rappers accused him of selling out. They said he made the music soft and safe just to please the mainstream. LL Cool J took direct shots at him, calling him an amateur and mocking his style. Q-Tip warned, "Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop." Even Digital Underground put his picture in their album, labeling him a nobody. This wasn't just rivalry. It was a battle over what hip-hop was supposed to stand for. Things got even more serious when Third Bass joined in. In 1991, their song crossed a line no one dared cross. They insulted Hammer's mother. The video showed them smashing a giant hammer while yelling for Hammer to shut up. That's when everything changed. According to MC Search, Hammer didn't just get mad. He allegedly offered the Crips $50,000 to take Third Bass out. When Third Bass came to Los Angeles, they were terrified. On a radio show, Hammer confronted them live. What should have been a simple beef turned into a deadly serious matter. Third Bass couldn't even walk around without fear. Armed men followed them, ready to make good on the bounty. MC Search later said it haunted him so badly he needed 25 years of therapy. Ice Cube also felt the heat. In his 1991 video for True to the Game, he seemed to diss Hammer. The video showed a Hammer-like figure being kidnapped and tied up. Cube was sending a clear message about sellouts, but Hammer didn't take it lightly. He and his crew went straight to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, where Cube was eating. When Cube saw Hammer, he knew he'd pushed too far. He apologized on the spot. The tough rapper who spoke out against sellouts realized that Hammer wasn't just a pop star. He was someone who could back up his words with real action. Even Redman, years later, admitted he was scared. On his first album, he had dissed Hammer. But when they met face to face, Hammer made it clear, talking about his mother was not okay. Redman didn't argue, he just said, "Yes, sir." He later explained that Hammer had serious connections in the Bay Area. No one came to Oakland talking trash about him without paying a price. EPMD's crew once had to leave town fast because they realized they were in real danger. And then there was Suge Knight. This was the man who terrified the entire music industry. The man who once dangled Vanilla Ice off a balcony. But even Suge Knight respected Hammer. It wasn't about size or strength. Hammer had ties in Oakland that made him untouchable. He had grown up with the High Street Bank Boys, a crew known across East Oakland. When Hammer got rich, he didn't forget his people. He brought them along, and that loyalty made him powerful. Suge Knight might have ruled Death Row Records, but he didn't mess with Hammer. The Crips themselves showed how much respect Hammer had. One night in Los Angeles, they approached him, not to threaten, but to offer protection. They said anything could happen in LA and suggested he hire them. Hammer just laughed it off. He already had 12 bodyguards, 5 of whom he described as straight killers. The Crips backed off, showing that Hammer's name carried real weight, even among gangs. Too Short and E40, both from Oakland, knew the truth too. Too Short once feuded with Hammer, but he admitted there was always respect. They might have dissed each other in songs, but they knew better than to let it get out of hand. Hammer's brother even called to warn Short's crew not to stir up more trouble when they were fresh off a tour where someone had been killed. E40 summed it up simply. He's from Oakland. That said it all. People from Oakland knew what that meant. Hammer wasn't just a performer in shiny pants. He was someone you didn't cross lightly. MC Hammer's story is one of the wildest rises and falls in showbiz history. At his peak, he earned around $33 million in a single year. But what made people's jaws drop wasn't just the money. It was how fast he managed to burn through it all. His Fremont mansion alone was a symbol of excess. He bought it for $12 million in 1990, then poured another $30 million into it. The place covered 40,000 square feet. The front gates were gold-plated and shouted, "Hammer time." Inside, there were Italian marble floors that cost $2 million, hand-picked by his wife. There were gold hot tubs, a pop-up TV console, and marble statues of Hammer himself. And the pool? It was shaped like his famous baggy pants and cost hundreds of thousands just to build. The estate had a 17-car garage, bowling alley, baseball field, basketball court, tennis courts, a recording studio, a 33-seat movie theater, and 2 pools. To keep it all running, he paid more than $500,000 every month for over 200 staff members. That massive entourage wasn't just for show. Hammer hired family, old friends, and anyone from his neighborhood who needed a job. At its height, his payroll alone cost $6 million a year. During special events or holidays, that figure could shoot up to over $1 million a month. Hammer took everyone everywhere: hotels, flights, meals, you name it. And even as his music career started to fade, he kept paying those salaries. It was loyalty, but it was also financial suicide. Then came the cars, the horses, the jet, and the choppers. He owned 17 luxury cars, including a Lamborghini Diablo for $240,000, a Ferrari Testarossa for $181,000, a Bentley Continental for $150,000, and a Rolls-Royce Corniche. He had 21 thoroughbred racehorses, with one horse alone, Light, valued at over $1.2 million after winning the Kentucky Oaks. Another, Dance Floor, cost around $1 million and placed third in the 1992 Kentucky Derby. On top of that, he bought a private jet, 2 helicopters, and a stretch limo. Every one of these things came with huge upkeep bills. Hammer's personal shopping sprees were just as wild. His custom stage costumes cost thousands each, and he often spent 6 figures in a single day on jewelry and clothes. He didn't just buy one watch or chain. If he liked it, he bought several. And it wasn't just for himself. He'd drop hundreds of thousands on gifts for his crew during holidays. His custom Hammer pants cost hundreds per pair. The real disaster was how the spending matched the earnings. Hammer was burning through $30 million a year, almost as fast as he made it. Taxes, savings, investments, there was nothing left for those. By the time his income dropped, his expenses didn't. The result, $13.7 million in debt by 1996, with only $1 million in assets left. On April 1, 1996, he filed for bankruptcy. That filing showed over 200 creditors. He owed Deion Sanders $500,000, the IRS another $500,000, and millions more to others. The IRS kept coming after him. By 2013, they had filed a lien for nearly $800,000. California wanted over $500,000. Alameda County wanted $230,000. To pay back what he could, Hammer had to sell everything. His mansion, once worth millions, sold for just $5.3 million. His cars, horses, furniture, and awards were auctioned off. Fans bought pieces of the empire that had once seemed unstoppable. But behind the scenes, something deeper was happening. In 1997, after losing around $70 million and filing for bankruptcy, he said he had a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. This changed everything. That October, he became an ordained minister in the Church of God in Christ. He even launched a TV ministry called MC Hammer and Friends on Trinity Broadcasting Network. During a live broadcast, he declared that his old self was gone and buried. It wasn't just about fixing his image or finding a new job. This was about starting over. What's even more interesting is that he had started out in the 1980s with a gospel rap group called the Holy Ghost Boys. His faith had always been part of him. Even when the world saw him only as a rap star, his ministry didn't stop at TV. Every Sunday night at 6 p.m. in San Jose, California, he held gospel services at Jubilee Christian Center. These were like no other. About 3,500 people packed the place each week. The crowd was a mix of gang members, troubled youth, families, and curious students. The energy was high, with hip-hop beats mixed with preaching. Hammer made sure his words reached people who might feel out of place in a normal church. He spoke in the language of the streets. Young people shared personal stories of escaping drugs, violence, and broken homes. Hammer didn't just stand back. He hugged them, encouraged them, and celebrated their victories. No matter how busy his concert schedule got, he made sure to be back in San Jose every Sunday. This was his mission, and he wouldn't let anything get in the way. Even more surprising is that back in 1989, when Hammer was at the peak of his career, a pastor's wife had a strange vision. She told her husband they would one day work with Hammer to spread the message of Jesus. At the time, that seemed impossible. Hammer was a global superstar, not a preacher. But 10 years later, after his fall from fame and financial ruin, the prophecy came true. Hammer joined forces with that very pastor and launched a record label. The pastor even mortgaged his house and invested $500,000. Looking back, they both believed it was all part of a plan that had been set long before. Hammer's path wasn't easy. He promised himself and his faith community that he would include at least one gospel song on every album. But he didn't want to be boxed in as just a gospel artist. He knew that would limit his reach. Instead, he used his platform to move between the sacred and the secular. He preached in prisons, visited youth centers, and even officiated celebrity weddings. His visit to a Barbados jail in 1997 left 42 inmates saying they were saved. He preached so passionately that his shirt was soaked. And he kept reminding everyone this wasn't for show. Through all of this, Hammer faced one trial after another. After his bankruptcy, he injured his knee badly. Then his wife Stephanie was diagnosed with cancer. The weight of it all could have crushed him. But he had a dream where God told him to keep his love strong, and he would come out of the storm. When he woke up, his pastor was at his side, as if the dream had been real. Hammer believed that faith healed both him and his wife. Even as the IRS chased him for over $750,000 in back taxes, his faith stayed firm. Many thought his career was over. But instead of disappearing, Hammer chose to reinvent himself. He found a new home in Silicon Valley. In the mid-1990s, while still selling millions of records, he started spending time at tech companies like Apple and Silicon Graphics. This was where his second act began. Hammer saw what others missed. He quietly invested in companies like Twitter, Square, and Dropbox. These early bets paid off in ways no one could have imagined. Chamillionaire once revealed that Hammer actually owned part of Twitter. They had spent hours talking about tech at Facebook's headquarters. Hammer often felt frustrated because other artists preferred getting paid to promote platforms rather than owning a piece of them. His connection with investor Ron Conway changed everything. They met at a baseball game, Conway became a mentor, and even invested $1 million in Hammer's DanceJam.com. Hammer prided himself on understanding the tech world. He once said, there was no business strategy or tech talk that was over his head. As if that wasn't enough, an unbelievable discovery added another twist to his story. Two friends from Modesto, California, bought an abandoned storage unit in Tracy for just $30. Inside, they found over 30 master tapes labeled Death Row Records. They also found Hammer's famous parachute pants, his fur coats, and an old Mac computer. A former Death Row producer, Craig Williams, confirmed the tapes were real. He recognized the track sheets, handwriting, and even the producers who worked on the songs. Among the treasures were 14 unreleased tracks featuring legends like Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and DJ Quick. Williams said he had always wondered what happened to these recordings. He hoped the music would finally see the light of day. The find could be worth millions. Hammer himself seemed to approve, posting a cryptic message suggesting the contents belonged to those who found them. Hammer's rise in the digital world began long before the word influencer became popular. He was one of the first celebrities to grasp the power of social media. With over 2 million followers on Twitter, he was even named Social Media Marketer of the Year at the Gravity Summit. At one point, he ranked 37th in the world in Twitter followers. He wasn't just promoting himself. He connected with fans, replied to mentions, and shared glimpses of his life from places like the Super Bowl and tech conferences. His blog collected all his tweets in one place. For Hammer, social media was about human connection. He once said that communication is part of our DNA. His hard work online, tweeting, making YouTube videos, building community, earned him a new kind of fame. Today, Hammer's estimated net worth is about $2 million. That might seem small compared to his glory days, but it tells a bigger story. From $14 million in debt, he rebuilt his wealth slowly and wisely. Gone are the gold chains and giant mansions. Now he lives in a $375,000 home in California. His money comes from tech investments and consulting, not from trying to relive his music career. Companies like Salesforce hire him for his insights. His early investments in Twitter, Square, and Dropbox keep paying off. Hammer's life today is proof that you can come back from failure. He didn't do it by chasing fame again. He did it with patience, smart choices, and by finding new ways to succeed.